Hello and welcome to A&K's fifth Wheel of Time podcast, where we'll be discussing Book 1, Chapter 4, The Gleeman. First of all, I do just want to thank those that have been listening to this podcast so far, and who I hope are enjoying the commentary and thoughts that we've been putting down. So, as we left the last chapter, at the end of the last chapter, this white-haired gentleman has come running out of the inn, and we get a bit of a description of him, that he's tall-ish. As this chapter starts, we get a description that he's tallish and that he's got a bit of a hunch, I suppose, for lack of a better term, and that he's kind of picturing him almost Gandalf-y a little bit.
Well, it doesn't say that he has a hunch. It just says that he's shaggy, white-haired, and was hurrying out as if pursued. But then you get a better description of him, in his cloak afterwards. And it's not so much shaggy, it's just that the patches are purposely there. And obviously, if he's a Gleeman that entertains, that he's got those pockets like a magician to...
Oh, good point.
To pull out the tricks and stuff like that.
So, first of all, he's not not happy about being unceremoniously kind of thrown out of the inn. The reason for that was because the peddler had gone in with the council, and the members of the council didn't want the Gleeman to be part of that discussion of what was news of the outside world. And
which I personally didn't understand, because he is of the outside world. He already knows this, so why having him in the room to sit down and have his pipe and drink his ale is beyond me, because he's already aware of this. So it seems a bit mundane. The only thing I can think of is that they just didn't want to have him there to decide, to listen in on what they've decided to do or not do about the information.
Fair point. Well, he's not part of the village council, so I can understand to a point, because they're decisions that the council needs to make. But I do also get your...
If it's just informing, if all the peddler was doing was just informing them of information, he already knew the information.
No, fair point.
So.
Anyway, so after he kind of... he's also a little surprised that Nynaeve is a village wisdom. I find that to be... to be well, given how young she is.
Yeah, it's amusing, but it's also understandable, especially given her personality. I mean, like... Wow.
Well, fair point.
Just, for someone who's a wisdom, she's not very wise.
Or wisdomy.
Yeah,
I suppose.
Wisdomy. Well, wisdom is not a word. That's why I changed it. I was going to say wisdomy, but I changed it to wise.
Well, if you think... I do have to agree with some of the Gleeman's comments. Because it does say, that a girl her age should be out, kind of flirting with boys and kind of... enjoying a young woman's life, as it were, not predicting the weather and doing whatever it is that
healing.
And healing and whatever else the wisdoms do. And because to me, and wisdom is something that you get with age, with experience, with and whatnot, and that's always been what granted by the general definition of wisdom, what what a wisdom, what wisdom generally is. And I would think there would be in it, kind of like a soothsayer kind of thing as well, maybe. But it appears to, but wisdom in the context of the Wheel of Time series, or at least as far as this kind of position is concerned, seems to be something completely different to that.
Not necessarily. It could just be that the previous wisdom was related in some way or something, or particularly liked her witty straightforwardness.
Ain't nothing but a family thing, maybe?
Could be. But you don't know anything about that. But I think
Not
it
yet.
could be. It could also be that they just the previous wisdom who trained her liked her tenacity and straightforwardness and stuff. But see, that can also bite her in the ass, because you can get more flies with honey.
Fair point.
By putting everyone down and making fun of them or a mockery of their ideas can often cause more tension, and can often start people fighting against them, or working against them, rather.
Anyway, so after he leaves, after the Gleeman leaves the inn and has this little wind session, the boys start, Rand, Matt, and Ewan start, questioning him about the outside world, and trying to get some news out of him. To which he replies that he's no peddler, because it's peddlers who trade in information, not Gleeman. Gleeman are there to be entertainers. They are the life of the party, so to speak. And as a crowd starts to gather and they see that he's there, he gives a bit of a commercial of sorts.
Well, first of all, I understand that he has something to complain about, but he is a bit pompous, because he seems to expect people to be happy and to be, glad that he's there, that he's supposed to. It's almost like he's expected to be treated famously and well, and without people complaining or saying what he can and can't do. Because if you recall, when he was in the inn, he was saying how he's been mistreated since getting here. The yokels in the previous town told him that he could make it by sundown, yet failed to mention that was if he left before noon. And then when he knocked on the pub inn, so he did his little complaining, and through that, you could see that he's. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I'd complain about the fact that someone failed to tell me that, it was so long as I left before noon that I could get there before sundown, to the to the two rivers. But also, then there was the coming down the stairs, and obviously the council being rude slightly, and then being told what he can and can't do with stories, and then being kicked out, right? So I understand that there is a little bit for him to complain about, but he also, through seeing the way he complains, he is obviously very intellectual, but he also has this air of pompous about him.
He's a celebrity of sorts, and it's that.
He's expecting to be idolized. I get that.
Have that kind of special treatment.
Yes, but there is also the fact that he does enjoy, and his own form of entertaining himself is to make mockery of people, which I don't like. Because he was mockering, and it's children. Well, not really children, but childish enough, because he was mocking Matt, and obviously his intellectual levels nowhere near as everyone else. Because Rand picked up on it straight away. He shut his mouth, and even what's their other friend's name?
Ewan,
yeah, he picked up on
it. And that is a fair point. Wouldn't have surprised me when Matt does, if that's going to end up biting the Gleeman in the butt, given the fact that Matt can be a prankster of his own right.
Yeah, possibly.
He starts giving a bit of a commercial of sorts for what to expect during the Beltane celebrations. He starts juggling and telling of all these stories and things he's going to be telling. It's quite a lengthy list. I do wonder how he's going to be able to get through like the 20 or 30 stories, whatever it is that he mentions in the space of 2 days. They would have to be relatively short stories, I would imagine, in order to kind of get through it in that kind of a time frame.
It's not just that, but before that, he tries to recruit them for his show.
Oh, during that, yeah.
No, just before he starts juggling.
Oh.
He tries to recruit them for his show and things, and you're very tall and I'll need someone such as you. I also liked the description. It kind of leaves a little more mystery into it, is that his eyes. Rand has grey eyes, but everyone else in the village has dark eyes, brown eyes and stuff like that, yet the Gleeman have blue eyes, and he wondered. It makes him wonder, where he comes from, and maybe he came from the same place, or his mum, or whatever, like, because he hasn't got the same eyes as everyone else, and it makes him an oddity in the town. And everyone was looking at the Gleeman's eyes just as much as his wares. And so it makes me curious a little more, I guess, about the whole idea
Rand's heritage.
That Rand is not it's not Tam's father.
Son.
Son. Yeah, that's right, because it's Tam.
Tam's the dad, Rand's the son.
Yes, no, I know. It just, it more like that Tam's a guardian to Rand more than anything else. But if you use him as a son through the sheer fact that he
has raised him for so long, or however long that time frame is.
Yes, or it could be that that is the relationship. It's just that his mum was of a royal line,
or something.
Yeah, or something like that. But either way, he's definitely not from that area.
I love the fact that as well. I mean, this is while the Gleeman is giving his commercial, he Rand, Matt, and Owen all brag about the different distances they've been from the town. I mean, they've been
that's where he mocks them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Rand mentioned it briefly, but then it was quiet.
I've been to the forest, I've been to the bog, I've been to this thing.
That was Matt. He started gloating a lot.
I'm just saying that I found that bit to be particularly amusing, because the Gleeman, who's obviously been been further around than these boys ever have, is kind of think, you took 2 feet away from your town and you call that far? Yay, well done, boys.
Yes, he likes making a mockery of people.
In addition, it's not just the boys that he says he leads through the show. He also, upon seeing Gwen, who's obviously the attractive girl of the town, or one of the attractive girls of the town, says that he would need her as well. And you can also tell that during this that there is still some frostiness between Rand and Egwene, but I don't know how much of that is actual genuine frostiness, as it were, or how much is a little bit of
they just had a fight, dude.
Yeah, but see, okay, I'm the kind of person who has a hard time picking up on these things. Here's my Harry Potter reference for this episode.
Oh my goodness. You read the books, and it's so obvious. This dude did not know that...
Spoiler alert for those who have not read it, just as an FYI.
Who's not read it?
I'll just say...
Or watched the movies. Okay, so there's obviously, when you get to the fifth-ish book...
So, Order of the Phoenix?
Yeah, you can sort of tell that Harry has a thing for Jenny, right? This dude didn't pick up on it at all, and he's thinking that Harry and Hermione are getting together.
See, I don't pick up on the whole relationship thing at all.
I thought it was funny because I'm reading it and he's going, I can't wait for Harry and Ron to get together. And
Harry and Ron?
Harry and
Wow.
Hermione. Harry and Hermione to get together, and me and another family member are looking at him like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I was so it was in what? The last one, I think. Deathly Hallows, when they finally... No, not Deathly Hallows. Half-Blood Prince, when they finally get together, albeit briefly. And I'm there like, huh? How the heck did that happen?
Yes, well, this is why I'm here. It's just a fight thing.
But anyway, there's a part of me which is... You can still, have, flirtations after a fight.
Yes, but not after literally just having it.
Oh, I don't know. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, but it's so the Gleeman's doing all this kind of advertisement and whatnot, and he stops when Moraine gets back. Moraine, just brief recap, is this person also from out of town who is coming from some kind of refined, at least, kind of, I don't know. The best kind of description that I've got, or the kind of image I've got in my head, is for those that have watched the TV series Once Upon a Time. Also a very good one, highly recommend. It's kind of like Regina, a little.
Oh, you mean one? Oh, I get the Once Upon a Time. Yeah. No.
Well, she seems to have that kind. I haven't quite got the darkness from it. It's more like the positive kind of refined Regina. It's
No. She reminds me of, and forgive me for those who love the Lord of the Rings section so much. I'm hopeless at remembering names. Aragorn's elf that he likes. Yeah. She kind of reminds me more like that.
Yeah, all right.
Refined, ladylike, very wise, and
just not a lady.
What?
Well,
no, they call her lady,
and she tells him to stop doing that.
Yes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she isn't. The point is that she's reserved, but kindly in a way,
Yeah. Yeah, no, well, it's that kind of persona anyway that they've got, they were kind of getting from her, and this kind of stops the Gleeman in his tracks, and he's, and Moraine says, "I'm looking forward to your show later." To which the Gleeman says, "Thank you," and kind of bows out at that point and goes back into the inn.
Yes, but I think there's definite recognition between the two of them. He knows who she is. And there's either history there or the fact that because she before that, if you remember, there were requests for certain things, right, and certain stories to be told, and he was describing all of the tales that he could tell, and there was a couple of there that were mentioned. About the dragon and just other the details of the maddening and stuff like that. So he definitely has knowledge of the ancient stories, and it could be that she doesn't want, in particular, the ancient stories of the dragon and the maddening to come out, because to remind them of those stories, because they could be linked to it.
So, I guess personally, I'm not quite sure. I can understand. I do understand where you're coming from. That there may be information there that she may feel is not yet ready for public consumption.
Or reminder of, when you hear when you hear a story out loud, and you're muddling over an idea, you have a tendency to, when you hear that story, be able to make links. So especially given the fact that Rand and his friends are all seeing this dark one, or this rider, and they hear a tale about the dragon, the dark one, and have it refreshed in their mind. They may find that they're able to link things together, or recognize the description of the Dark One, and then therefore actually know for a fact that they did see or didn't see him, those sorts of things. So she could quite possibly be protecting them from that, or not wanting them to know, because she wants them... They're not quite ready to sort of have that sort of bravery thrust upon them, because they're not going to be able to have it thrust upon them, as it were, because it might scare them away from destiny or whatever. So there's a possibility with that.
True, and we don't... At this stage, it's still very early in the book for us to know the relationship between these external players. We've got the relationship of the internal ones, as far as those that are in the town and who's in the council. But as far as these external players, like the Gleeman, like the peddler, Moraine, Lan, her partner, I guess, or servant, we don't quite know how they fit together with each other quite yet. As well, the writer, and we don't know anything about him other than the fact that he elicits I don't know, he's almost Nazgul-ish in my kind of description.
Yeah.
For those, but anyway, after that, the Gleeman goes back inside. The council comes out, and here's where we get to see some really comical kind of tongue-in-cheek kind of comments between Nynaeve, the Wisdom, and Bran Alvear, the Mayor. We get some really kind of amusing comments here, because there's obviously some tension between the two, and
well, just before that, there's the fact that not many people seemed to pick up on the fact that there's definite tension between the Gleeman and
Moraine,
yes, and they keep shouting out things like, juggle or eat fire or play the harp. Rand seems to be quite observant in comparison to quite a lot of the people in the town. Because they were still wanting to be entertained, and they didn't see the change in mood in the actual Gleeman themselves to know that the show practically ended. And then, of course, the council comes out, and they're all, he mutters about, having a strong brandy, and goes into the inn.
And you're not wrong. I do agree with you that there is an obvious history there, which will no doubt get explored in later chapters. And it's one that that I do kind of look forward to finding out. But and as far as the Mayor and the Wisdom are concerned, the Mayor's like, at least I've got some kind of dignity about me to not call others a fool in front of in public, and to not kind of treat me like like the village idiot, as it were. To which the Wisdom replied something along the lines of, "Well, if you didn't act like it, I wouldn't have to."
If the specific thing is, it seems my estimate too high by half.
Exactly. And I do find that to be it's with the kind of exposure that we've had to the wisdom so far, she definitely seems like the kind of person to tell a situation how she sees it, and not and hasn't quite learned it hasn't learned the finer arts of diplomacy.
Definitely not.
Or
at least she hasn't learnt the significance or the power that goes in to making her thoughts known in a more private way.
Yeah.
So that you don't have the town looking down on certain people. I mean, she may want it that way, but that's where I guess her naivete in being young comes in, because someone who has lived longer would know that if you're going to a difference of opinion, then you're going to want to do that in a way that doesn't put that other person on their guard and make them want to possibly in the future work against you, because your opinions are so strong and so publicized that you automatically have this wall put up when you see this person. And that's the kind of the relationship I think that she's definitely forming with some of the council members, and in particular the mayor.
It's kind of a classic example of this, for me, is of how this situation should best be handled, is from the Star Trek Next Generation episode Gambit. I believe it's part 2, where Data has taken command of the Enterprise, and Worf is being his first officer, and Worf is not used to being in that kind of a position. And throughout this episode, when Data's giving orders, Worf is constantly questioning him out there on the bridge, thinking, this is what we should do. Why haven't you done this? And giving commentary on his orders so that when he finally does say, this is the action we're going to take, Worf is like, finally. And Data pulls him aside into the ready room and says, that if you have any issues with the orders that I'm giving, bring them to me in private. I don't remember ever, Commander Riker publicly questioning Captain Picard as you did me just a few moments ago. And that is the way that, I agree that those kind of things should be handled, so that a captain's authority, and in this case the mayor's authority, is not being undermined. Because the way that Nynaeve had publicly berated, for lack of a better way to phrase it, or insulted the mayor, is...
Well, she was doing it in the council, but the mayor
still is a public situation.
It is, yes. But he kind of went out into the village as a result of the mayor complaining and mumbling about it. So in a way it was, the two of them were sort of arguing or continuing their argument. But yes, I do agree that it should have been handled with more wisdom than she has.
More wisdom than a wisdom?
Yeah.
More wisdom for a wisdom.
Yes, definitely. Especially this one. She's a lot younger than she should be, I think.
Or than is generally accepted for a wisdom as well, because there have been a few comments now by outsiders about her being so young.
Yes.
Anyway, after so as the council leaves, everyone goes their separate ways. Tam, Rand's father, joins.
Oh, hang on. They ask about more news.
Yeah, I'm getting to that.
Oh, okay.
Tam, joins Rand and his friends, and Matt tries to get more info out of him, in relation to, did the peddler say anything else, essentially.
Yeah.
And Tam essentially states, no, there wasn't much more than what he'd already told the village out there.
At least none that interests us.
Yeah. But it does state that that in 2 days after the Beltane celebrations, that watchmen would be sent out in all 4 directions to keep an eye out, which both Matt and Rand immediately try to volunteer. Tam tells Rand they need to go home, and he has 5 minutes to say goodbye to his friends before he leaves. He does tell Matt that that if he does want to, he does say that they should go see the mayor, if they do want, really want to volunteer for that watchman duty. Matt's all for it. Rand is going to, but Tam tells him, "Look, we got to go home. If you want to see the mayor about this, you can see him tomorrow."
No, he doesn't say that he wants to. Oh, yeah, but that's about volunteering. I thought you were talking about them saying something.
No. I'll get to that. But as far as volunteering is concerned, that's they'll see the mayor. Rand can go see the mayor tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tam goes off, to go to the stables to get the cart ready and whatnot, for them to and Bella and whatnot, so they can go home. And Rand and Matt, spend a few moments talking. And there are a few points that that come out during this conversation. First of all, they are both interested and excited about being watchmen. One of the reasons that Matt gives is he's primarily a farmer by trade, and for him to have a break from that to do something else is definitely of interest to him, regardless of how boring it may be, because they do acknowledge that they are that nothing's really close.
They still have a form of adventure about them.
Exactly. Yeah. And even though it may just be sitting there
dead tookuses or walking around
twiddling their thumbs, as it were, for days on end, it's something different. It is something different for them to do, and I do understand that, because if you're stuck in the same kind of routine, get up, feed sheep, milk cows, pull vegetables,
water fields,
mend fences, go back to bed. Get up, feed sheep, feed milk cows.
Yeah, we get the idea. We don't need to bother people.
Well, fair point, but you get the idea that if you're doing the same repetitive thing, doing something different is very attractive, and I can certainly understand that.
And it excites you and gives a sense of excitement.
Yes.
In your life, and sort of opens up the curtains, as you will, and brings in the fresh air of, blowing out the cobwebs.
Yes. So they're talking together about the rider at this point, and whether or not they feel that they should tell the mayor so that he can let the watchman know to keep an eye out for this guy.
To at least let them know that 3 people now have seen him, even though one of them is not exactly a reliable source. Being
Matt, yeah. Yes. And they decide, we'll tell him tomorrow. But if you, Rand tells Matt to
search out for people
for other witnesses. For other people that that have seen him, so that if we have more witnesses, the more believable we'll be. Essentially, because at this stage they're worried that if they just go along with Matt's story, that they'll just be laughed out of town, so to speak.
Yes.
Or laughed out of the room. And they agree to to that plan for now. And they say goodbye, and Rand goes to meet his father at the stables at this point, where he is hooking up Bella to the wagon so they can go home. Rand initially didn't want to go. He tries to stay because of the winter night festivities.
And also because they want to find more
witnesses.
More witnesses. And I think that Perrin was definitely wise in his decision to look for more people, because he knew himself that...
You mean Rand?
No, Perrin suggested
good point, did too. Yeah.
He suggested that we look for more witnesses, because Rand was kind of like, well, he ain't going to laugh at it, it's not going to be any different to him laughing at us, today than it is tomorrow. Let's just get it over and done with, kind of thing. And Perrin's like, let's look for more witnesses, because he too obviously knows Matt's unreliability and cheekiness, and has thought, well, let's look for more witnesses. And
he's kind of like the boy who cried wolf a little bit, isn't he? And he got that kind of air about him, I suppose.
Mischievousness. He's so mischievous, and obviously tries to get away with it by saying that he didn't do it enough that they don't necessarily believe him.
So after as Rand and Tam are leaving, they start to have a bit of a conversation. Rand has his kind of bow and arrow at the ready just in case. And he starts. There are a few topics of conversation that go on here. The first is, to ask why the council took the peddler away, and I love the fact that, at least in my opinion, anyway, I was right in the thinking that it was to take away the source of the proverbial fire, as it were, because there was some chaos that was starting to happen when the peddler was kind of giving us information about the war and the dragon and the Aes Sedai and all that kind of stuff that was going on in the outside world, which ultimately was too far out of the way to really concern Emond's Field. But just by the very notion of that happening, it's gotten people worried. I mean, that the dragon, we're all going to die. We're all going to, the world. There's going to be another time of madness, and we're going to, and the world's going to be destroyed, and all this kind of stuff. And so the council, kind of took them away so that there would be no more fuel to that fire, and it could, while the embers, I agree, are still there, so that it wouldn't be, quite as much in the forefront of people's minds, I suppose. So they could be distracted by other things.
Yeah.
Well, it's just you kind of disagreed with me earlier.
Well, it's more a case of the fact with I don't see. I get the whole, not wanting to upset the villagers and whatnot, but you can't stop a peddler from telling them later on. It's still going to worry the town. It's still going to cause little flames and sparks, especially certain people in the village who are quite happy to state their opinion quite directly, and it's not going to be it's kind of it seemed a bit frivolous to me, because you're going to get that uproar, worrying sort of a feel anyway. It's just going to take a little longer to get there.
Yeah, no, fair point, I suppose.
I understand why they did it, and I get it, right? I do get it. It kind
seems
of
a little pointless
to me. Because the peddler will tell whoever wants to listen. That's, he's that kind of person. He loves that attention. He loves that people feed off his every word kind of thing. And while he won't necessarily talk to children, he'll definitely talk to the adults, and the adults talk. So...
Yeah, no, fair point. And the next subject is in relation to the to the Watchmen and what they're and the reason why they're being sent out. It's is a dual purpose. There is partially to keep the town safe, as a just in case measure, but more importantly, it's for the appearance. So that people so that people feel safe.
Yes.
Because while they do, because Tam acknowledges that they are too far out of the way of the supply lines for either army, be it the Dragon or the Aes Sedai, for them, and that it's too much of a backwater place to really be of any concern. But now that information has been passed along, there is this war happening, and that there's all this chaos happening out far away. To help people feel safe, they're going to be sending these watchmen out, and it is to help people feel safe rather than to actually keep them safe. Because again, being so far out of the way, there's no real need from a physical standpoint. But as a just-in-case measure, it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt, and I do get the whole, that people behave in strange, in ways that you don't. You expect them to behave a certain way, and they don't end up turning out to behave that way. He definitely, Tam understands and has got definitely wisdom there to know that people, just because you expect an adult to behave a certain way and to show bravery doesn't necessarily mean that that's exactly the way they're going to behave. The cowardice in some people is actually quite stronger than others, and you'd be surprised who those people are in some ways. They can surprise you that way.
It also reminds me of one thing about me is I'm a big TV movie buff, and throughout this I will be making a lot of references.
Yes, to several different series.
In this case, Men in Black. When Will Smith's character is first told the truth, and or at least just after it, and he's sitting on the bench with Kay, and he asked Kay the question, why not just tell people the truth? People are smart. And I love Kay's response because it's true. Being that a person is smart, people are frightened, panicky animals, and you know it. And it's true. I'm sure that if the Gleeman were to have told this one-on-one, they could have digested it and taken it in stride.
You mean the peddler?
Good point. Sorry. My apologies to Tom there on that one. Not sure I mentioned that, but yeah, his name is actually Tom Marilyn. I apologise for leaving that so late in the podcast, but anyway.
He's just, the Gleeman, the peddler. They're easier to remember, and the chapters are called Gleeman and Peddler, so
Anyway, so if the peddler was to give that information one-on-one, I'm sure that that whoever was listening would be able to take that in stride. But because it was in a group, in a crowd, one person fed off another, and it ended up becoming a bit of a brush fire, so to speak. I love using the analogy of fire for this because you put a fire on a stick and it burns out. You put a fire in the middle of a bush and it ends up becoming a really big thing. But anyway, they start to... so Rand and Tam are now talking about... and this is the last kind of interesting point before the end of the chapter. They're talking about the rider, and Tam acknowledges that that he knows that he knows about the rider, and that there are actually two other...
No.
Good point.
Just two other. There were several of them actually.
But two main ones that he mentions.
Yes. Okay.
And he waits until he's till they're out of the village to actually have this conversation to make sure that they can't be overheard. And that there were two others that he mentions that who are reliable sources who have seen this rider. And that's added reason for this watchman, so they can tell and they will tell the watchman to keep an eye out for him. But because they don't, because there's an unknown element, they don't know what his purpose is. They're being very cautious about him, and they want the watchman to be able to keep an eye out for him, but also to leave him to go about his business because again they don't know what his purpose is in the area. But
that clearly only young people can see him.
Which I find interesting, actually. I mean, it's... I'm wondering if this person is trying to seek out someone in particular that may be of a particular age group. Or maybe he's trying to...
A particular generation, making it so that only certain ages can see him. But then it could be that only, because if you notice, the coins that were given...
Yeah.
Only people who have, from what I can see, only people who have seen the rider are ones that are given the coin as well. So they're being singled out, these people who can see the rider, and they're also they've got two parties interested in them.
True.
Because all three of them got a coin, and then the apprentice, the blacksmith apprentice, can't remember his name. He also saw the rider. I was trying to see if I could find it in here, but I can't see where they're mentioning the names.
No, I didn't note that one.
I did tell you to note his name because he obviously is friends, but never mind.
Yeah.
We know who we're talking about with the whole, the blacksmith apprentice. He saw the rider, and yeah, there are a couple of others. who saw it. So and it seemed to note that only certain people, only young people could see this rider, which worried Tam and the council, of course, because it means that it's someone sinister and someone who's got an agenda, but they don't know what that agenda is, and he quite clearly seems to be
targeting the vulnerable for a little bit too, because these, granted, while these teenagers are at a very vulnerable age, trying to identify who they are and trying to, that's when you're trying to identify what you want to do with your life and what you want to, and who you want to be. And it could be that this person, whoever he is, in addition to trying to find someone in particular, he's also he may be trying to get someone of a particular age that would be best molded to his will, whatever that may be. I mean, that may be a bit of a sinister look, a sinister way to look at this, and considering we've got practically no information at this point other than he's big, black, and brought out feelings of intense hatred in Rand.
No. But that he hates Rand, they haven't been brought out in Rand.
A good point. For Rand rather than...
Rand, yeah.
Towards Rand.
Towards Rand, yeah.
So we'll see how that plays out. But Rand is feeling more content, that his father knows and believes him that this rider actually exists, because he knows now that that he's not alone and that he's able to confide in his father, or pseudo-father, as is a bit of an assumption on our part at the moment, in relation to to this rider. So that there is chapter. Alright, you go. Okay, go on.
Later on. Okay, so I've just found the part where it mentions all of the men. Only young people can see this fellow, it seems, and he lists a whole bunch there. They're mentioning who's seen at the Crowley Boys and all the rest of it. But then later on, he's saying, I didn't know Ben or Liam had seen it, and the rest of us were going to see the mayor tomorrow. But we were worried that they wouldn't believe us either. And then he turned around and said, grey hairs don't mean our brains are curdled. I laughed because it was like, why wouldn't you think that if several people or several young, lads have seen a black rider, that we wouldn't believe them even though we didn't see him, kind of thing. So
Matt was going to be part of the group there.
It was a bit funny.
But I agree.
It was a funny sentence. I liked it, Grey hairs don't mean our brains have curdled.
All right. Well, that there is the fourth chapter of book one of Wheel of Time. And we hope you've enjoyed listening to that. Our next recording or next chapter is entitled Winter Night, which I'm curious.
We're going to get to the festival.
Are we though? Because so far this has been from Rand's perspective, and Rand has gone home.
Well, that's true. Maybe he's going to spend the night there at home.
Sneak out?
Yeah, maybe. Probably, but we're going to get to the festival soon, surely.
One would hope.
Because we've been talking about this upcoming. They've been talking about this upcoming festival and several other things for quite some time. But
it'd be kind of disappointing if in the lead up to all this, and we end up, he leaves before it ends, or something.
He leaves before it ends up happening with all the fireworks and stuff like that. Yeah.
Could be the rider comes up and chases him out of town, or something.
And then might have what's all this build up to all the other ones that have a coin and stuff like that.
I know.
There's got to be a bunch of them that leave.
Yeah. I don't know. Fellowship with a coin?
Fellowship of the Coins. There's definitely more, because you're saying, she definitely gave a coin to...
At least 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, 5 of them.
But yeah, so we'll find out what happens on Winter Night and with our next episode.
Well, we're hoping. Because so far it's been following Rand literally. There's not been any gaps or anything like that.
True. But yeah, so thank you all for listening.